Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. Right on. Todd, thanks for being with me, man. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Denny. This is a wonderful opportunity. I'm glad to talk to you today.
I'm super happy. As I've mentioned a bit before, I did an interview with law enforcement. It's always joy because you guys are terrific. I really love talking to you. The program will be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? How did you know that this was the way to go? So tell us what you do for a living.
I'm a captain with the Town of Hamburg Police Department that's near Buffalo, New York. I've been here for a long time, 27 years. Uh, right now, my responsibilities, I oversee all of our patrol operations, all of our community policing initiatives. I oversee our behavioral health team, and I'm also the public information officer, so I speak to the media or do press releases and stuff like that. It's a wonderful career. I'm super happy. I've been very fortunate.
Yeah, and for you guys, I honestly am a little bit against calling it a career because here I'm from Europe, Southern Europe. We have that say here that you simply cannot become a police officer or a soldier. You have to be born this way. You,
You know,
there,
I agree with you. You know, and I've been
this
both.
is I forgot the name of the guy I was interviewing, but because the third question is how did you know this was the way to go,
Sure.
or the second one was how did you get there? I asked one of those, and he was like, "Well, for the money." Like what? What? And you're like, no, no, okay. I'll tell you, I just really love saying it. 'Cause I love the faces people were making. Like, yeah, and they almost had a heart attack. Because,
Yeah, you can't do it for the money.
yeah, no,
First of
but
all, I mean,
eh,
you can't.
you can just appreciate the sense of humor, though. The guy had,
Yeah, I hear people all the time, you know, we interview people for new jobs, like for new officers, and you know that for them, it's especially now with the sentiment of policing in America that they really have to want to be here,
yeah,
Uh, and there's a lot of jobs right now for policing in the States. There's not a great amount of people that are applying. Now, when I started, there was no jobs. I was just very fortunate. I mean, I was your typical kid that grew up and I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I got to my last year of high school and I went and talked to the guidance counselor and he said, "Yeah, you're not going to college." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "For you, going to college would be a waste of either your or your parents' finances. You need to find yourself first." He suggested I either join the military or I go to trade school. I can't fix anything, so I do trade school. I'm not going to be a plumber. I'm not going to be an electrician. I mean, you would never want me working on your house. I still can't fix anything. So I looked into the military and I enlisted in the army. Best thing I ever did. I mean, honestly, I was a kid from a small town that enlisted in the service. And the first place they sent me was across the country to California. I was 18
also,
years
that
old.
was immediately after high school.
Oh, right after high school. Yeah.
All right.
Within a month. Um, you know, when you put a bunch of kids that are 18, 19 years old and together across the country from their families. And for me, what it did, honestly, is I got to live with a bunch of different people, all different cultures, all different, races, colors, creeds, everything. And you learn real quick that, people are people and you rely on those people, for yourself and they rely on you. And for me, it was exposure to different cultures in America and the value that each culture brings. And I really respected that. Not to mention that I had some really great leaders as a soldier that taught me right away, what leadership looks like that I've used since then. So, from there, I got out of, I was in the service and I was going to reenlist and I had a parent that was sick. So I decided to come home and I went to college for 4 years. And I knew right away what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people. And the only way for me to do that was a fireman or a police officer. I'm not real big on running into burning buildings. So I decided to be a police officer.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, in all fairness, a police officer is not much safer than that. I have not seen statistics, and I don't need to. It's both jobs are thankless, and you really have to be, your heart have to be there. There's no other way around. Like I'm a financial analyst. I've always been, doing that. I was 16 when I knew exactly what I was going to do. So it was pretty easy for me. But there are a lot of people in that sector, colleagues of mine even, and many others that really don't like the job, but it pays pretty well. So yeah,
Yeah. My wife is in finance, and I think that she comes home from work unhappy a lot sometimes, and I think that it's monotonous. But each job has its own value,
yeah, no, definitely.
and you have to appreciate that I can do what she does. She would never want to do what I do. Um, and honestly, I just really wanted to be exposed to, the camaraderie that I had in the service, uh, the uh, the structure. I excelled in that part of it. So I looked at a career that had the structure, it offered you some sort of camaraderie and the ability to help people. And realistically, I know it's like the catchphrase. We interview people and they always say, "Oh, I just want to help people," but I really did, and I've kind of spent my career doing that. So my camera's frozen on this end. I don't know if it's frozen on
Yeah,
your.
I know. But it's frozen in a nice angle, so I'm just gonna leave it at
I don't
that.
know if it is, but that's okay.
If you want, you can try to, nullify the video and start it again. You don't need to
Yeah.
drop from the call. I think this may help, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. But I mean, honestly, for me, it was there we go. It was
Yeah.
about the ability to help people. And for somebody that, I'm not handy, I was not good with numbers, but I'm good with people. And I realized that I excelled in the military as far as, leadership and how to get people to kind of go along with what you're asking them to do. And then the police work is really no different. You work for different ranks. It's a little bit military structured. And that structure for me was good. And who doesn't want a job where you spend most of your day dealing with people? Even when it's at their worst, you have the ability to help them, and it's really rewarding. I mean, when I was a patrolman, I didn't go home from work many days where I was unhappy. I spent 8 years in patrol. I spent 7 years as a detective, and then I was a lieutenant for 12 years before I got promoted to captain. So I've kind of worked in all different places in the department, and I find it super rewarding. I think that kids, young people that are coming into this job, men, women, I think it's a really good profession to be involved in. You're never gonna be rich, and that's the old saying, like you said, people do it for the money, right? Like we're not
Yeah.
doing it for the money. You can't do it for the money. You're never gonna be rich, but you'll find value in it, and you come home from work feeling like you actually accomplished something.
I'm basically the total opposite. And this is another reason why I love talking to people like you. I also love talking to artists because I'm a
Yeah,
strictly 9 to 5 guy. Like, if you're my boss, we have to have a very good relationship. If I am to say late, like a very good relationship. That doesn't work with me. And I love to help people too, but for selfish reasons. Because if people around me are doing better, that they are not gonna trouble me. That's why I'm helping other people. I'm not doing it out of the kindness of my heart. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's just what I am and who I always have been. I am, trying to be a nice guy. And in general, I'm super polite to everybody, even to those that don't deserve it. But when I help, I'm doing it most so that you don't trouble me ever again. And that's why I technically started this whole program because I had an intern back when I was working at HP for a while. I had an intern and he was a smart guy, really smart, and you can tell, but he really didn't want to be there. I'm like, okay, why? He was a young, tall, handsome guy. Look, why are you here? What's up with you? He's like, my mother always wanted me to work in a corporate environment. I said, well, why don't you call your mama? We need people here. Get her here.
right,
You clearly don't want, and you're not for that kind of a job.
right.
You're poisoning me and yourself and everybody else around you. Get out. What do you want to do? And when I asked him, he just said it like, I want to fix elevators. I'm like, what? I haven't even thought of that. Okay. Well, you're here anyways.
There's a lot of money in that, though.
Yeah, well, clearly his heart was there. So I Googled that real quick, and
Yeah,
we have those program here where you're paying a symbolic amount of money to a
right.
company, and they kind of take you as an intern for about 6 months, and then you just work for them.
Right.
And actually, he was pretty happy. I saw him,
Oh
wow.
yeah.
And
You know,
yeah,
that I think that it's important that we're all on a journey, right? We're all on different journeys. We're all at different places.
yeah,
And certain things make certain people happy. Other things make other people happy. And I think it's important for someone that's looking for a profession that they find what is going to make them happy. We have people that work here that I look at them and I say, "You're not happy. Why are you still, why are you still here?" And their thing is, well, the security, the money, I have a family, and I get all that, but I think during your journey, you get one life, and you should do what you want to do, whether it's for money, whether it's for helping people, whatever your reason is, you have to find that, and you have to kind of go after it. And for me, I just knew that I would do well in a job like this, and I went to college. I was an
you were
intern here at
already
this
an
police
adult when you
department.
went to college, right? Like you
Yeah,
weren't a kid at that point.
no, yeah, I was
Okay.
so older. I was 22, I think, when I
Yeah.
started college. Yeah, different. I grew up a little bit. I went to school with kids that,
If you
weren't
were
there.
in the army, if you don't grow up
Yeah,
in the army, where you gonna
right.
grow up? This is ridiculous. You
No,
shouldn't
so
even
for
do
me, it was
this.
like college was easy. You have deadlines, you do your papers, right? You complete your grades, and I was just biding my time to be able to get, into the workforce. But I learned a lot there. I had good instructors in school, good professors that were very honest with us, and
Yeah.
I was all set to go and do an internship somewhere else. And one of my professors pulled me aside and said, "Hey, this police department right here where the college is down the road, they take interns. It's paid." I had a paid internship, and you're from here, it might make sense for you to look at that. So I did. I was actually a paid intern for like a year and a half, and then it just worked out to where I graduated in May, and in July I started the police academy. So I never really had that downtime where you're struggling looking for a job. I went right into work, and I've been here ever
No,
since.
that's pretty good. Now, you did cover partially the third question, which is how did you knew that this was the way to go? However, I want to ask you the following because people tend to go to colleges, university. That's why I asked you. I mean, you were an adult, so you already knew
Right.
the direction. But a lot of people, I had a guess here. He was a chemistry teacher, and he said that 70% of the students that are graduating
Yeah.
are doing something completely different. And
Yeah, that's
that's
true.
beautiful. Now, I know that you guys have that in the US. We don't really have that much of an issue here because the education here is dirt cheap. I graduated a private college and I was working as a bartender and I paid the whole
The
thing
whole thing.
myself, no
Yeah.
problem. We have a couple of crazy expensive colleges, but 99% of us don't
Right.
even know where they are. We just know the names. I was about to start a PhD, but I had a difficult year. But if I had started, it would have been €500 per year. It's like
Yeah,
$520 per
that's
year.
amazing.
So yeah,
So,
but my issue
yeah,
is with the time because you have
yeah,
25, 6, 7 year old young adults. Those are
yeah,
young, those are not kids anymore. Come on.
right. Sure.
And they out of there. They graduate something that's definitely not for them. They're working something that's clearly not for them. You said it perfectly. When you're in that situation, you're miserable. Now, again, I don't want people to be miserable, but let's say you're single, you have no one around you. Okay, you can kind of be miserable on your own.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when you have a spouse, children,
Yeah.
you can't fake it all the time, and you can tell it. You can just see it. And now you are clearly a gifted speaker. You're intelligent. You're a charismatic man. You're super disciplined. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this.
I appreciate
Uh,
that.
you have a way with people. Man, you could, and the army is a huge institution. I don't care which country you're from. The army is
Yeah.
a huge, huge institution. You could have done any number of things because those were all options that were before you, that were in front of you. Yet you decided to go with this specific, and what you did is pretty specific. How
Yeah.
did you, was it, how did that happen? Was it a gut
Well,
feeling? What was
you
it?
know, first I want to touch on something you just said. So I teach as a adjunct professor at a local college here. I was done with 4 years of college, worked for 25 years, went back for an advanced degree. So I just graduated with a master's degree last year. So I'm a firm believer in continuing like lifelong learning, right?
As
But
am I.
I teach these kids at school, and the first thing I tell them is, you don't have to know what you want to do right now. Like this is 4 years to find yourself, to figure out what it is, and to try different things. Because I think that a lot of them are there because of expectations
Yeah.
or unrealistic ideas of what like this profession is. So I teach ethics, and I find that through that process, like they're identifying what they believe in. A lot of them kind of go back and forth with their ideas of what they want to do in the future. But I also tell them, listen, I've been here a long time. I have plenty of connections. If you want to explore different avenues in the criminal justice system, certainly reach out to me and I'll make that happen. So you see that it's not just you can, being a police officer or being a probation officer or being a lawyer or, whatever. There's all sorts of different things. Your question is how did I know? And I just thought, I grew up in the era where Cops was on TV in America and it was, really cool. And that was part of it. But the other part of it was I wanted a job where it wasn't the same every day. And I knew that. I knew
Like
that.
literally right now, once we're done here, I'm almost at the end of RoboCop Rogue City.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I watched those shows, but being a police officer is nothing like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know until after the fact that they would film for days to get, 30 seconds of footage. So you have to be really cognizant of the fact that this is not what that job is. But for me, it wasn't the same every day. And once I started it, I liked the law. I like the, learning about different things. I like the idea that in this job, you're constantly a lifelong learner. They constantly send us to schools to learn different things, to keep up with the law, to keep up with technology. And it wasn't the same every day. And then the calls aren't the same every day. So when I was a patrol officer, you didn't know from minute to minute what you'd be doing. And to me, there was some kind of like value in that to where I never got bored, you
Yeah.
know?
You can't
And
get bored and no,
oh,
no.
I mean, it's not nonstop action, but you're going somewhere or doing something for a large part of your day. And realistically, you don't
I
have a
mean, I'm
boss.
an accountant and in a financial analyst in department. I don't have the same day every day, so and I don't
Yeah,
deal that much with people. So yeah, I
it,
understand what you're saying.
it just was, my mom was a teacher and I love history. So I thought about being a history teacher, but then I thought about going to school and teaching the same kids every day and having a lesson plan. And that was really, a big turnoff to me. So, as a police officer, even at the lowest level, you don't have a boss in the car with you. So you're kind of, autonomous and you have a lot of discretion and you make decisions, on every call. And I like that. I like that, I was making decisions that the outcome of this call and how this person was helped was really dependent on me. And if you're good with people and you listen, you have to be a good listener, and you have to be able to evaluate their problem. And I always tell my lieutenants and patrol officers now that, you might not be able to solve that problem, you know, have a solution for the entire problem. But if you can give them a temporary solution that gets them to the next step where they can help themselves to solve the problem,
Yeah.
that's a win, right? So there's a lot of that, and then later on in my career, I got involved in the mental health aspect of police work. And, I was probably an old school police officer that when they started talking about putting a citizen in the, civilian in the car with a police officer to go to mental health calls, that I was like, oh my God, that's going to be terrible. But I'll eat crow and tell you it's probably the best thing we've ever done. We're really making progress in helping the mentally ill in the community, and we no longer have repeat calls where the same cars go in there 9 times a day to deal with them. Our officers have more time to do other stuff. So it's a continual evolution of learning and being supportive of different programs and processes. And at this point, it's kind of like it's a lot like running a business with you know the budgets and all that stuff. But it's still I get the chance to talk to people, which is if I didn't have that and I'm sitting at this desk all day, I'd probably be going crazy. But I talk to community groups, I talk to senior citizens, I talk to anybody that will listen about what we're doing and how we can help them and what initiatives we have. So there's ways to make this career into something more than just being in a police car. It might take time, but if you're constantly learning, you might start as a patrol officer. In the same way I tell my kids, that might not be your end game. Like you might want to go into investigations and you might be really good at that. So constantly are looking at ways to evolve your career that's going to suit you best. And when you have people that are in their best position, they're happy, you know.
Yep.
And like you said, people go home to their families and they're miserable. Well, I don't want, cops that have, miserable home lives because they come to work then and they have a miserable work life.
Exactly.
So you have to kind of, keep an eye on that and evaluate things and put them in positions to succeed and they'll be happy. Listen to what they're saying, be able to receive feedback, which in this job is sometimes people can't do that. They get to a rank and they think that I don't need to listen to you because you're only, a patrol officer. Well, everybody has value, and if I can listen to criticism or a suggestion from somebody, I always told guys that when you come in, don't just complain. You can complain about whatever you want, but give me a solution to the problem, or at least an idea on how we can solve it, and then we'll look at it. And that seems to work real well. They feel like
No,
they're
it
invested
works
in the
pretty good.
process. Yeah, they feel that they're invested in the process, and it creates a happier workforce. So,
Uh,
been fortunate.
I had this college professor. He's a friend of mine now, but I actually told him about that intern. They're like, yeah, that's been like that for about 15 years now. Well, that's a problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Why? He's like, well, it's just like that. And why don't you do something about it? And I'm an old school gamer, right? The camera, the microphone, that's because I have a guild in Germany and
right.
we're playing Star Wars. So I already had all the equipment. Like, yeah, okay, I'm making a podcast. So
Yeah, you might as well,
exactly for
right?
that, because it's a problem. I love it you mentioned the movies. I don't know if you've seen this one. It's a Cubs movie, so I'm not sure if you're watching. I really would
I'm a
rather
movie
not
guy,
watch.
so probably.
Yeah, Hot Fuzz.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I see that.
And I was talking to a guy that I know. He's also a police officer. And excuse me. And I'm like, "But you guys actually do paperwork?" And you're like, Yeah, yeah, like a
Yeah.
lot."
You know,
So that was unexpected, but I really enjoyed the fight. I didn't know there was a lot of paperwork that
oh
over
yeah. And honestly, that's where like that, your ability to write and to comprehend is like the two biggest things in this job. It's not, your ability to chase people or how many tickets you write. It's your ability to write a report that reflects, the incident concisely and accurately, but also to comprehend what's being told to you so you can put that down on the report. And then identify which crime was involved. But yeah, there's a ton of paperwork and it never stops. I mean, even at my level, that's the majority of my day is doing schedules and making sure people are where they're supposed to be and evaluating and reviewing paperwork, which is even worse than writing it, you
Yeah.
know. But
I
yeah,
want to tell you a story. My career started in the government. I was a financial expert at the National Railway Infrastructure Company for the EU, and I was 21 and legally stupid. So a colleague of mine lent me some money, and he said, I need those money by Friday. And, well, I don't have it in cash. He said, well, just send them to the bank.
right.
Send them to the bank, you schmuck. So I did, and again, I was legally stupid. Now it's funny, back then it wasn't. And you know that field, like reason for sending the money, and
Yeah,
keep in mind, both of us were corporate, were in the
sure.
corporation working for the government of the European Union. And I thought it was funny, and in my defense, I still think it's funny. I wrote corporate espionage. And I had no idea that this would be a problem. I thought it was funny, and it was. And clearly, this is something that the EU is taking seriously. And
Yeah.
when you have that, it kind of glows in red when
Yeah,
you
you
have
got
an
flagged.
employee First of all, if you do corporate espionage, nobody's gonna pay you that small amount of money. And number two, nobody's listing it. But yeah, I had like 2 hours with police officers afterwards, and I thought they were messing around, but they were actually legitimately there. And they were like, so you transfer that amount of money, and I thought they really weren't messing around. Well, you see, officers, I am secretly part of the Assassin Brotherhood
Right.
because I play Assassin's Creed. I was messing with them, but
You're
they
also
didn't know
21,
about.
right?
No, and turns out that even if someone is a complete moron, you have to put that in the report.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
didn't know that either.
We
So
have
it's
very
pretty much,
creative ways of writing that.
say again?
We have very creative ways of writing that. That the person might be a complete moron. We probably won't say that, but we'll say it in a very you know concise and probably less intrusive manner, but it'll mean the same thing.
At the end, they found out that I was, not a danger
Right.
to society, but it was pretty odd. I have one last question before I let you go.
Sure.
If you can give my advice, that's the fourth question. I never put it in the invitation because I just love the reaction. If you can give my advice, if you can give your advice to my audience are people that are sitting wondering if this job is right for them, if
Right.
the lecture is right for them. If you can give those people one advice, what will it be?
Do what you love. Figure that out. Don't be afraid to fail.
That's a
You
good
know,
one.
I think that in life, you can't be afraid to fail. You succeed when you learn from failure, and you're going to fail. And don't be afraid to fail. You actually become a much more successful person in what you learn from failure. And then, like I said, find what you love and embrace it, and don't be afraid of it, and don't be afraid to seek that position out. In the end, you're going to be happier. And then realistically, one last thing is don't stop learning. You
Yeah.
know, don't get to a position where you feel like you're comfortable. Put yourself in uncomfortable positions where you have to learn more. And you will become more successful. You'll become more valuable as an employee when you learn things. And treat everybody with respect. And that's all I ask of people. Everybody's a person, everybody's on their journey, and we're all at different points. Just because you're at a point where you're not in crisis doesn't mean that you won't be. So treat people with respect.
That's a perfect advice. Todd, again, thanks for being with me. Please, again, send me all the LinkedIn, social media, all the links, social media, everything,
Yeah, I certainly will.
so that people can, check on you and check articles, books, and everything that you have.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I have connections from pretty much all over the world. I embrace that. And I always tell people that I connect with, if you want to connect like we are face to face, or if you want to connect by email, or if it's something that I can offer you, don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll send you all my information.
You're like super charismatic guy. Of course, you're going to have connections all over the world. Who don't want to talk to people like that?
I enjoy talking to people, Denny. I do.
Well,
So I appreciate the opportunity today.
absolutely. And I wish you a good day,
You
and we'll
too,
get
sir. All right, take
bye.
care. All righty.
Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.